Hey guys, and welcome back for another tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make these really cute cathedral window pincushions. So if you're interested in learning how to make these, then stick around. Okay, so for this tutorial you will need one large square piece of fabric and 4 smaller squares of fabric, with one being a contrasting fabric. All the measurements for this will be located over at my blog, which is charmedbyashley.com. I will have that linked in the description box below, as well as the information icon in the corner of this video. So once you do learn the measurements, it's very easy to fudge the numbers, so it's really not that difficult. They're just perfect squares. So I'm taking my large piece of fabric and I'm using a white so that it's very obvious, and I'm going to hem it at about 1/2 inch, and I'll just iron that all the way around. And then once I've done that, I'm going to just iron the corners to miter the corners. So I just pulled the corner out, folded it in, and I'll iron that, and then I will lay the sides down, and that will give me a really nice mitered edge. And we will do that on all 4 sides. I'm not necessarily sure if this has to be done, but this is what I've learned, so we're just gonna go with it. And when you're making this tutorial, make sure that the contrasting fabric is very obvious as well, because it will be peeking out. So you want to be able to see it, and then it will give you that cathedral window effect. So, you know, mine are all purples. One is lighter than the other, so I think it turned out cute. And both those fabrics are actually from the same collection, which I couldn't tell you where it's from. But okay, so once you've done all your corners, now you're going to fold all the corners into the center, meeting them all. Now, you can be very precise with this pattern, making sure that everything is perfectly measured. I'm not so sure if being super precise makes a difference. You want to get it pretty close, but you'll notice that my measurement isn't amazing, and even in the end, I don't think it made a difference. I think my little pin cushion still looked just as good, even though when I would do this, the little points wouldn't all go together very nicely. So then once I ironed that, I brought all the corners in again, so we're folding it in again. I think I just repeated myself a bunch there. And I'll just iron that down again. And then we will move over to the other pieces of fabric. We will take the contrasting fabric, and making sure that it fits perfectly inside this square, we will open the flaps and then nestle that right there, and then put the flaps back down. And then you will quickly take this over to the sewing machine, and you're going to sew down those 4 little points. We're just basically tacking them down just so nothing moves and shifts around when we go on to our next step. Okay, so now we're going to take 2 of our other pieces of fabric, so we still have 1 left, so we don't want to touch that one. We're going to take these 2 and we're going to cut them in half from corner to corner, so we end up with 4 triangles. So I'm just going to take my rotary cutter and slice that down, and these triangles will be a little bit big for this next step, but it's just a little less confusing for you to cut 4 squares all the same size. So now we're going to lay one of the triangles down on one of the flaps, and we're going to offset it by 2 or 3 millimeters, and you can pin this in place and then have the iron on standby, and you'll just fold over that little edge, and you're going to be folding it over the raw edge of that fabric, and we'll just iron that down. And if you want to pin it down, you can do that, but ironically my pins were super dull, so it was kind of pointless at this stage of the tutorial. I tried to put a little clip at the end. It worked a little bit, but I would of course recommend using some nice sharp pins for this point. And we're going to do the next side. I also would recommend that every time you iron one down, pop it under the sewing machine and do that stitch, and then do the next one and then sew it, and then the next one and then sew it, just because I, for video's sake, did all of them at once. And it's fine, you can do that as long as you have your pins. I'm sure it'll be fine, but once you start getting going and stuff like that, it could end up kind of falling apart, because you are just folding the fabric over the raw edge and hoping that it'll stay. So I guess what I'm saying is, as long as you have pins in, you can keep going. If not, then iron, sew, back and forth. And I will do that for all of the little flaps, and make sure that the raw edge of that fabric is tucked in there really good. Right now it doesn't look like it is, but once you get it over under the sewing machine, you can fiddle with it a little bit more and make sure that it all is tucked under there. So we're just going to take it over to the sewing machine, and we will do a longer stitch. I did about a 3, and I'm going to go right against the one edge, just so I make sure that I catch that fabric and all of my raw edges are underneath. So I will show you in a second what I mean by making sure you hug that one edge. So that's how it will look. That was fast. And we'll just do all of our little peekaboo points. And then the center is, less to be desired. So we'll cover that up after, but this is what I meant when I said that we're going to waste a little bit of fabric. So we're just going to snip off those little flaps there that are left over. And then we'll get that last square piece of fabric, lay that right sides together on top. And then we'll just sew all the way around, leaving the 2-inch gap for turning. And then we can stuff it. So for video's sake, and because I don't have anything on hand, I would recommend either one, walnut shells. Crushed walnut shells apparently are very good for keeping your pins sharp. You can get those at the pet store apparently, or I'm assuming online. And steel wool, so maybe you could put like half fiber fill, and then put like a layer on top of steel wool, and then that will help keep your pins nice and sharp. So I won't be using these for pin cushions. I'm just making them because they're pretty, and I'm sure my daughter will steal them and make them into little doll pillows or something, which is another idea for them. But yeah, I would definitely recommend making sure you put something else in there rather than just batting, because that's not going to do anything for you. So I'm just going to take a button that I think goes with it, and I sewed up that hole first of all. And if you want to see how I do a blind stitch, I do have a video for that, so I can link that in the information icon as well. And then I'll just put a button on really quick, and I pull it pretty tight, and then at the bottom it looks like it has like a little dimple, so that makes it look a little bit more cuter. So yeah, and then I'm just going to wrap my thread around it, and then just tie off my thread, and then I poke my needle through the cushion and then snip it so it gets like lost inside, and then that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to, of course, see more of my tutorials. And also don't forget to hit that notification bell, just because you might not know when I do release a video. And follow me on my Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. If you make these, I would love to see it. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!